Welcome to the Gaming Lounge Podcast, Episode 1. I'm your host, Sebastian Cardoni, and I'm joined by Dory. How are you doing, Dory?
Hello, doing well.
So this is our brand new podcast. We're going to talk about everything in gaming. We're going to upload our podcast on YouTube and Spotify every weekend. Ideally, I want to try it by Saturday night every week. So how we're going to structure this first is we're going to start off with our spotlight. So we're going to talk about a game that we're currently playing or had played recently, whether it was old or new. And Dory has been playing OFK. So can you talk about that game?
Yeah, so it's called We Are OFK, and it is a game. I actually had a little a cute little back and forth with a Twitter account about this. But it is a game, but it's a very it's a very kind of so basically what We Are OFK is, it's hard to describe. It's basically a documentary. It's kind of like an MTV behind the scenes, or VH1 behind the scenes, like they used to do on TV. But basically, you have control over these characters, and you make choices, and you get to watch them perform their songs, which honestly are all really great. I think genuinely it is a really good band. You can check out We Are OFK's EP. It's on just about everything, but I listen to it on YouTube Music, but you can find it on Spotify too. But I mean, genuinely bangers. The story is mostly about this woman who has moved from one part of California to another, closer to Hollywood, trying to make it big in a band. Already has a minor support network, has left her previous relationship. That gets explored more down the road. But you also take the point of view of her roommates, her friends. You get to explore kind of the underside of the music industry, but also the better sides of the industry. Friends and stuff, people dealing with trauma, people dealing with hurt feelings and friendships and all that stuff. The main thing I really liked about it, besides how visually attractive it is just how well written this game is. The characters are very, very well written. Within 1 or 2 episodes, I felt very attached to these characters, wanted to know what would happen. If you like interactivity, if you like a lot of button pressing, obviously not the game for you. But if you don't mind sitting there watching, making a couple choices every now and then, listening to excellent VA, excellent character work, excellent writing, this is a great game for you. We Are OFK is on Steam. It's on a few other platforms as well. It's not too long. It's about, I want to say, 5 or 6 hours. I had a period in January where I was just going through my Toby, my pet cat. He loves doing this thing when he'll just reach up off of on the chair, on the arm of the chair, and he'll just paw at my shoulders like, "Hey, buddy, right here." But anyway, yeah, I just did it again. Hi, I know I see you. Yeah, so it's really fun. It's fun to play. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch these characters interact with each other. You're rooting for them, but you're also knowing that it's a difficult journey to make it as a musician. I mean, I played bass guitar off and on for about 10 years, was in a couple bands myself. And it's just not an easy thing for anybody to do. I mean, it's why bands all the time fall apart and come back together and then fall apart again. So yeah, it's a really great experience. Like I said, only 5 or 6 hours. You get it on Steam I think it was on sale when I got it, but you can probably get it for around $20, maybe a little less. What else is there? Like I said, the music is really great, and that's obviously should be key with a show like that, with a video game like this that kind of acts like a behind the scenes, behind the music stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out. It's been the best. Well, before Yakuza, and we'll talk about Yakuza next week. But besides Yakuza, it's been the best game I've played all year. And I not like all the games I've played are bad or whatever, but definitely has been the standout for me. So yeah, We Are OFK, really solid indie game. Came out last year, so it's a pretty new game. But I didn't get around to it with, a million billion good games, amazing games coming out last year. So I decided to just make January kind of my backlog month until Yakuza came out. But yeah, check it out.
For sure. So I've been playing The Last of Us Part 2, Remastered. My game of the year in 2020, as is Dory's game of the year.
Yep.
and it still holds up really well in terms like I mean, first of all, the gameplay is incredible. Like I've been playing the campaign, the story mode, and it's still one of the best third person shooters I ever played. It flows so well. The movement is so nice. Even like it still holds up. Like obviously, like it's only 4 years old, but it's still on par with Dead Space remake and Resident Evil 4 remake and things like that. And like, when I played the first game too recently to compare, and it's so much more fluid in the first game. Like the first game feels so
Yes.
dated in comparison, even though I love the story a little more in the first game because one thing I've noticed in the second one, which I've always had a criticism for, is the fact that Last of Us Part Two has some weird pacing issues. I think some chapters just drag. There's like a big moment happens, and then there's just like a chapter where you just walk straight and follow a character and they talk, and it just kind of affects the pacing for me. It definitely shows more in the section when you switch to Abby, where when you have a flashback with the dad. It just like something major happens, and then it's just like 10 minutes of like just walking straight. So I've said that before. I always wish they didn't like switch characters in the middle and like went from like one half to another half of like the same thing just to connect it to the end. I always felt like they should have did it differently, but overall, it's still my game of the year. Incredible game. The PS5 visuals look great. There's some moments where like the character model looks bad, especially when they get wet. When they have and this not a good sign because this game takes place in Seattle, like a lot of sections of it, and there's a lot of rain and rivers and stuff, and the
Yeah.
characters get wet a lot. So like sometimes like Joel, like for example, there's a scene where Joel is like he's taking Ellie to like to the dinosaur like the museum, see all the
Yeah.
dinosaurs and stuff. And
Yep.
like when he's in the water, his character model just looks off. Like it's like something
Huh.
it looks like the graphics just like fall apart for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why it's doing that, but I heard not though.
I
I mean,
remember the PC port had a lot of problems with that, if you
yeah, it was
remember.
very similar to that. I saw the same exact kind of character model where Joel just looked
Yeah.
weird, but for the most part, it looks great. You can tell it's not a remake; it's a remaster because I think The Last of Us Part One looks better because obviously that was
Mm,
built from the ground up as a remake.
right.
This game definitely looks like a PS4 game that got PS5 upscaled. Don't it still looks good. It still looks like Ghost of Tsushima did when it was a remaster as well on
Right.
PS5. But it's still like it shows like oh yeah, you can tell like the difference between a native PS5 game like Spider-Man 2
Hmm.
and a game that's been upscaled and remastered for PS5. Um, because like for example, we're gonna talk about Death Stranding 2 later on, and it's like Death Stranding 2
Right.
looks like a game built natively for the PS5.
Yes.
And
Absolutely does.
it's like such a big difference between that and the PS4. So
I've definitely never seen an electric guitar gun that looks so good.
so I'm still having a blast with it. Absolutely, the gameplay is so good. I love the story. Like I say, I have some pacing issues, but here and there. But overall, I really enjoy it. It's it's incredible, and I'm excited for part three.
Yes, which we
Okay,
will talk about soon.
actually, right now.
Yeah, bam. Look at that
So
transition.
speaking of Last of Us, so they had a documentary for it, and it's called Grounded 2. So it's the making of The Last of Us Part 2. And Neil basically confirmed, even though it's not officially confirmed yet, that
Yeah.
Last of Us Part 3 is happening. I think we all assumed that anyway.
Yeah,
And especially with
to
factions
some degree.
being canceled, I would assume that like
Yes.
the
Yeah, they
focus.
said specifically they canceled Faction so they could focus more on like single player efforts or something like that. I forget the exact wording, but something that led you to believe, oh, they have something in the pipe and they don't want to sacrifice stuff for it. Yeah, I watched the clip exactly. It's on Twitter. You can find it pretty easily. But what he basically says is that he has the concept of The Last of Us Part 3. A lot of people are going to misreport this, but he has the concept of The Last of Us Part 3 in his head. He doesn't have anything written out. There's not a bit of programming done. This is not something that's going to see the I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't come to like late in the PS5's life cycle. I'm not saying PS6, but maybe like late in the PS5 cycle, I would not be surprised. Like I saw somebody throw out 2028. I don't know about that late, but I wouldn't be that surprised either. I mean, how many years was it between Last of Us Part 2? It was like 7 years or something like that.
7
Or
years.
maybe more.
Yeah.
7 years, yeah. Something like that. And that's obviously because he wanted a really good concept, and he's finally found it after another 4. I don't know what Grounded was recorded. I presume it was recorded as it was made, but maybe that was also an interview done post like interview, you know what I mean? Like maybe or post interview, post documentary. Maybe it's like a in current time. So we don't know when that interview was in, but presuming that it's a modern current interview, that means we probably have another 4 or 5 years before it ever sees anything, even trailers. But it's still exciting, and I still want to know what happens to Ellie. Part 2 was a fucking bummer. And honestly, it's such a bummer that I have a hard time going back to it, even though it's one of my favorite games of all time. I love the gameplay. I love the characters, as flawed as they are. I still have a hard time going back to it, and just enjoying the game. It's hard for me, and I love that game, and I think it's worth replaying, but it's just not something I think I can bring myself to do. I've thought about it multiple times. Every time I go to a different game, because I'm like, that just feels like it'd bum me the fuck out. And and I'm not against games bumming us the fuck out. I think that's cool. I know a lot of people shit on The Last of Us for all being gloomy and dark and shit. It's okay to have gloomy and dark games. It's great to have bright and happy games too, like your Marios or your Yoshis or whatever. Like that's a spectrum, and I think we should respect that. I think that's awesome. It's not for everybody, obviously, and it doesn't have to be. But anyway, Seb, yeah, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's needed. I think a part 3 is needed because I don't feel like Ellie's story should end that way, where she has nothing left and she's by herself. I feel like that part 3 should be focused on redemption and like learning how to because I think the whole message of Last of Us Part 2 was like how far revenge can take you to such a dark place. You hate yourself. Like you feel ashamed that like with the person that the revenge has made you, because both Abby and Ellie both lose everything because of what they did. Because we can spoil this a little bit. I mean, it's 4 years old. Because Abby killed Joel, like it made Ellie want to kill everybody, and Ellie kills everybody, right? And Abby loses everybody she loves, basically. I think she loses everything, and
she loses everything. I mean, one of her friends, the baby that her friend had. I mean,
and it's all because she killed Joel. Like if she didn't kill Joel, that wouldn't have happened. And then on the other hand, Ellie had multiple chances to move on.
Yep, the farm, especially the farm.
She could have had a nice, peaceful life, and with Dina, and she chose to seek out Abby, and it cost her not everything, even like her 2 fingers, so she can't play the guitar the same anymore.
And so she can't remember Joel as she wants to.
So
it's just a really fucking sad ending, and like I agree with you. Like I want it to be a story of redemption, but I don't want it to be easy, and I don't want it to be. Not everyone should or has to forgive Ellie. You know, I would be perfectly fine, for example, if Dina doesn't forgive her, or if certain characters don't forgive Ellie for what she did, and other characters do. I think that's more realistic than everybody. And I don't think Naughty Dog would write it this way, by the way. But I'm just like, since we're speculating years out, what the fuck, whatever. But like, not everybody should be like, oh, Ellie, you learned from your mistakes. Yay. Like, we're all friends now. I think it's fine if there are a couple of people who are like, Ellie, you're serious about atonement and serious about making good on what you did and you've learned, blah, blah, blah. But like, I think it's also fine if Dina's like, nah, you really fucked up. I need some time to think, or like, this just isn't going to happen, et cetera, et cetera.
I think you can have a happy ending even in a serious dark game. I mean, I think you can tell an adult story and have an optimistic ending. I don't think you always have to be like bleak and miserable. And I think I wonder if like they would do something like Walking Dead kind of did this with the last season with of Telltales, where like Clementine took the adult role and raised a kid. Like would like Ellie play the Joel role and raise like a kid? And you know what I mean? Like that would be an interesting dynamic. Tie it all together.
The important thing is you're going to need some kind of main motivator for Ellie or or excuse me, or whomever is going to be the lead. I mean, I think it would be really cool if we got Lev to be the lead character, or at least like a main character, maybe not the lead. Obviously, it's still Ellie's story, so I want Ellie to be in there. But I think Lev getting more of a showing would be great alongside Abby. But yeah, I know also too. I want to shout this out. This is really important. Laura Bailey was interviewed in the documentary too about the fan response that she got from her performance. And I know you tweeted about this too, Seb. But just I haven't watched the clip because I know what happened to her. Well, not intimately, but like I know the general vibe of what happened to her, and I don't really want to relive it through her comments, but it's just abhorrent. Anybody doing that to anybody over just about anything, really, but especially fucking video game acting. One of the most thankless jobs in the career in any career or sector in the market, especially where people are worried about getting replaced by AI and shit. So yeah, I wanted to shout that out too because it was really important that she got to talk about that for even 30 seconds. But yeah, I mean, and it makes me worry about the person who's going to play Abby in the TV show. But hopefully, since most people already know what's going to happen, it's not going to be as bad. But I don't know. Put that girl on witness protection is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
But yeah,
This the thing is like, see, I critiqued the game just recently, and but you don't see me like attacking the actors, and it's just a video
yeah,
game, guys.
yeah. It's a fucking video game, guys. Like I love The Last of Us, but like Abby didn't goddamn destroy me or whatever. Like I even got spoiled on it beforehand.
Yeah,
But like it didn't. It's like whatever. Like
yeah.
I'm glad that Troy Baker got written out of one franchise. No, I'm kidding. But like but seriously, like yeah, it's a fucking video game. It's like it's like the most important, least important thing, and it's like it's just not worth getting this upset over. Nothing's really worth getting this upset over.
Yeah,
And
that's
honestly, it's been like 4 years. Like move on with your lives. Like I don't like saying go touch grass, but in this case, like do anything besides what you're doing. Like be better.
yeah. The conversation over The Last of Us Part 2 has always blown my mind. Like
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen a game get so much
so divisive.
hate. Well, I don't
Yeah,
even want to say device because I feel like most people like love it or like it. You know what I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
that the vocal minority like
I
really
think
hates
too.
it.
Yeah, and I think too. It has gone more as we've been more and more removed from the initial thing and the leaks and stuff like that. I think it has gone more positive over time. I mean, hell, somebody was posting about how we gave Arkham Knight too much shit after Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think the problem is the leak just set that game on a bad course with people
Yes.
just because people got the wrong context and
Yep.
but yeah, there's no excuse to harass the actors. Like I don't think Suicide Squad looks that great, but you don't see me like harassing Rocksteady devs. Like that's just like it's just entertainment, guys. Like
Yeah, and like harassing the cast of Suicide Squad is in of itself suicide. Like you've got Samoa Joe on that cast. Like I'd rather run into a fucking bulldozer than harass that man. Like, come on.
but but yeah,
But yeah, I mean
we're
it's
all excited.
exciting to hear about
Yeah,
Last of Us Part 3.
it is. It's very exciting. Like I mean, if you go by Naughty Dog's history, they've always done at least 3 games, if not 4.
Yes. Yep.
So it's not a surprise at all. Why wouldn't they do a third
No.
one? I don't think a fourth one would be needed though. I feel like a third one should
No.
wrap it up as a nice trilogy, and then because I know they're working on a new IP, so I think it's
Yes.
time. So I'm sure maybe they're working on 2 different games at the same time because it's a huge
Yes.
team. So I'm excited to see what they do.
Yep.
So let's move on now to that. So apparently, it got data like in a data mine like leak. It's been discovered that Hi-Fi Rush may be coming to PS5 and Switch through like shirts. Like there's the shirts are pretty. Have you seen Dory? Have you seen the shirts?
I have seen the shirts. I
They hint
wanted
at it.
to
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting one of them, but I didn't really care for any of the designs. But yeah, it's super funny. This is how it broke out.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at the one that said the Switch, like for the Switch, it's clearly hinting the fact that it's portable because it says
Mm.
"rock out anywhere,"
Right, right. I didn't even pick up on that.
and then the PlayStation one says "I'm here, baby," so it sounds like oh, it's on PlayStation, the rival to Xbox,
Right,
and
right.
then the Xbox one says "Shadow dropped," which that's actually what happened last year.
Right. Yeah, one of the coolest shadow drops of all time.
So it feels legit. I mean, it's not a bad idea. In terms of like, you can look at it two different ways. Like, I can understand why a lot of Xbox fans are upset because like, if you're all your games are going to the competitions platform as well, like, why would anyone get an Xbox at that point?
Right.
But at the same time, like, I feel like Xbox has slowly shifted towards multi-platform. Like they want people to subscribe to their subscription everywhere. I think Game Pass is more important to them than anything else. I think
Yes.
I think if they can put Game Pass on PlayStation, they gladly would. It's Sony who
Yeah.
says no,
Yes.
because they want to make profit on their own games in the store. And but I also think that it's okay if other games come to other platforms. Like if everybody gets to play the game, what's the big deal? Like I don't
Right.
understand. Like I understand like oh the Xbox platform might be getting hurt by that or something, but I don't understand like oh like people getting mad that other people get to play game. Like I don't
Right.
understand that. That's just console
Yeah,
war
more
gossip.
accessibility is good for everybody. Like I understand if like you have buyer's remorse, you bought an Xbox Series X and you're like, well, all these games that I thought were exclusive to me are getting put on this other platform, so why did I even buy it? Like I get being frustrated about that, but there's no reason to be complaining too much when it's just you still can play it on that platform. It's just not exclusive to it anymore. It's
Yeah,
not like you can't play it on the platform. It's not like they're putting it on PlayStation and Switch and they're saying no Xbox, no PC.
yeah. And it's just it's different. I mean, you can't compare like oh you can't say like oh well PlayStation doesn't do that. Well, PlayStation like is obviously a lot bigger than Microsoft. They like their IPs are bigger. Like they sell like
Yeah.
15 to 20 million copies in their big games, like Spider-Man and God of War and Horizon and
Yeah,
stuff. So it's
I
like
know it's cliche, but they are literally big in Japan, and Xbox is not, and has not really ever been. I mean, Xbox is a Microsoft subsidiary, and it's a very American company. Sony is very Japanese, and the Japanese market is very important for video games. Xbox just doesn't have that, and Sony does. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
right.
Well,
And
partially as simple as that.
so the point is like Sony had no it's not only that, but Sony's bigger in the fact that they can get marketing deals and third-party deals cheaper,
Yep.
and so Microsoft needs to do it more. Like they had to shift their whole like game like structure. Like I feel like if Xbox games sold well last gen, they would have had they would have never done Game Pass. I think Game Pass was a result of them games just not selling, and they had to change something. They
Yeah.
had to change their whole approach.
I still think Xbox Game Pass is one of the best things in gaming right now. It's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
much for me
fantastic.
always, yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty much always going to be worth it. Always going to be something that I will invest in. I have an Xbox subscription. I don't have Ultimate because I don't consider it worth it for me personally. But I mean, almost every month I at least play one or two games on Xbox Game Pass usually, unless like it's a huge month or something, or I'm just too busy with
yeah.
Steam or PS5. But yeah, it's an excellent investment. So I just don't
Mhm.
think there's anything to be upset about here. But gamers are going to be gamers. But
Yeah.
yeah, Hi-Fi Rush was awesome, and I'm glad that that more people are going to be able to play it because that was an awesome game.
Yeah, I recently resubscribed to the Game Pass, but I did the same thing. I didn't subscribe to Ultimate because I don't ever use my Xbox anymore,
Right.
I'm never gonna play games on a mobile device. So
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing was that, what you get access to more games, but the games that I have are plenty. Like I look at like what other games they're offering, and I'm like I don't feel like this is worth like another $10. Like the amount of games that you get just for basic Game Pass is incredible.
you
I mean,
get
like just on my wish list, just on my downloaded games, I've got Chained Echoes and Eastward to play, and then in my library, for example, I have like Pillars of Eternity, Dragon Age, Jade Empire, like Fallout New Vegas, like plenty of games to keep me busy for a long time. So it's like it's nothing I really got to worry about.
I mean you get like 95% of the same games. It's just some games here and there. If
Yeah,
anything, the Xbox is the one that gets less games than the PC. The PC seems to get more of the games because they like a lot
yeah.
of there's are a lot of strategy games that go to PC first and then then get ported to consoles.
The really nice thing too, one little hack about, I know it's becoming more about Game Pass than Hi-Fi Rush, but one
Yeah.
last thing about Game Pass is that I've discovered is that when games are leaving, you can download them right before they leave. And I mean, Chained Echoes and Eastward, I think left Xbox like last month or something, but they've stayed on my Xbox Game Pass because I downloaded them before they left.
I also like that you
So
can
that's another cool
I
thing.
also like you can pre-download and
Yes,
have games
that's
ready to
so
go. Like
helpful.
you can download
Yeah.
Hellblade too already. So
Yes, yes, you can. I'm waiting on that one, but I'm almost certainly going to play it on Game Pass. I'll at least give it a try.
yeah. All right. Moving on to this rumor that there is going to be a new PlayStation handheld. Well, like now, it doesn't surprise me in any shape or form because Sony's a tech company, and tech companies always like to experiment. There's always patents that Sony does that like never comes to fruition. It's just they just test things out. Like that's what tech companies do. I'm sure there's a lot of things Sony does that we don't know about. That just never comes out. And so I don't. This doesn't mean this is actually going to happen, but I do think there's a stronger chance of this happening now than it did like 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Because I think Sony's realized that people are, first of all, craving like the PlayStation Portal. And PlayStation Portal is not even a native device; it's a streaming device, but it sold really well. And then you got the Steam Deck and the Rogue Ally doing really really well. So Sony's like we want to be part of that too. Like we want a piece of that profit.
Absolutely.
And I think it's possible. I mean, I feel like they hopefully have learned from their mistakes from the Vita. Like I hope they don't make
And
the
yeah,
memory cards way expensive and actually have legitimate support. But that's my concern for them, is that they don't give their hand. They don't. My concern is that, are they going to give first party support to this device, because they haven't done that with the PSVR two. PSVR two is carried by third party a lot. You know what I mean? And
yes.
that's the biggest criticism of it. And that's one of the problems with Vita, right? Vita, we had Uncharted, Golden Abyss, and stuff, and then Tearaway and things, and Little Big Planet and things like that. And then after that, it was like a lot of companies were like, you know what, we make more of our money just putting in the games on PS3 or PS4 instead.
Yep.
And Nintendo has an advantage because Nintendo has combined their handheld and their console market together, and they can just like it's seamless. But Sony can't do that, obviously.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I think to some extent that's just what Sony has to do. I think it has to make it similar to the Rogue Ally, to the Steam Deck, where you can play your PS5. I know they've done that with the Portal, but do make it even better. Make it actually handheld. Like the Portal can be something you have at your home, and that the Sony handheld, whatever it's going to be called, is something actually like handheld. You can play. I don't know, fucking blood from anything from Bloodborne to Spider-Man 2 on a handheld. Maybe it's compressed a little, or maybe it's always on performance mode. I don't know, but there's like some way for you to be able to play all those games while you're going on buses or on long trips or whatever.
yeah, the rumor is it's going to be as strong as a Steam Deck. So if it's around the Steam Deck, I would imagine PS4 level.
Yeah.
So you can play PS4 games, level kind of games, and the rumor is some PS5 games. So like something things are like patched, like optimized, or like they
Mhm.
lower the settings a bit to make it work. I think that's a good place. PS4 on the go is really good. I imagine that's where the Switch 2 is going to be. So
Yes.
I think Sony wants to be part of this market. I think handheld market is really popping
I think
off
it's
right now,
a I think it's a
especially in
good time.
Japan.
It's arguably the best time for handheld gaming platforms, or whatever you want to call it, in a long time. I mean, Seb and I both lived through the time where Game Boy was huge, Game Boy Advance, the SP, DS, the eventually the PSP and the Vita. There was like, I think, Blueberry, like BlackBerry, Blueberry, whatever the heck it was called. A bunch of like
BlackBerry.
mobile, yeah, a bunch of mobile companies like tried to like get in on that craze too, and like create their own like kind of knockoff brands. But yeah, I mean, it used to be just huge to have handheld stuff and do it everywhere. But now that people have smartphones, it's a little less necessary because you could just play on your smartphone. So I really, again, that's why I go back to my earlier point. You really need to have Sony combine their consoles and their handhelds to some degree, at least. I mean, I'm not saying maybe play everything, but at least a lot of what the PS5 has to offer should be on your handheld. It's just going to sell a lot better that way, and that way you don't have the PS Vita problem of developers having to develop for one or the other.
Right, exactly. I think well, actually, let's say this. The rumor says that they're working with AMD, which is not a surprise. That's what the AMD board has helped make the PS5, and it says it's along the same lines as the Steam Deck, as we said, and it says it's in active development. So I don't know what that means. Is that like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? And in 3-4 years, we're gonna be talking about PS6 because by that
Right. We're also going to be talking about like the
years.
Steam Deck 2 at that point.
Yes, for sure. So all the
Yeah.
handhelds will be stronger.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
who
curious.
knows?
Yeah, I'm curious what
Yeah.
what they're trying to aim for, and like the stronger a handheld is, the bigger, the worse the battery's going to be, and that's going to be a whole conversation. And
Right.
as
Of
we all
course.
know, Sony's DualSense and controllers typically have poor battery, so
Yeah.
that's going to be a criticism.
I
But
usually, I mean, I've been playing Yakuza lately. I usually have to charge my controllers at least once every couple of game sessions, or maybe, every other day. Yeah, it can be rough.
I've been playing. I play wired now, so
Oh,
so I don't ever have to do that anymore. But 'cause I have the DualSense Edge, so I just play. I use the wire it came with, and never had that problem again.
yeah,
But I also
fair
play
enough.
very close to my TV. Like I have a chair in front of my television, right,
Yeah, me too.
right there.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So I'm excited. I have a PlayStation Portal. I have a Rogue Ally, and I have a Steam Deck. So obviously, I love handheld. I have a Switch. So I love handhelds. It's my favorite.
He's the Thanos of handheld systems.
Absolutely. One more, right? Get
One
the
more,
Sony
that's
logo.
right.
No,
It
but
was the Sony one.
I've literally had every handheld there's been since I've been alive. I mean, I've loved Game Boy. Like I have so many
Yes.
memories of just like driving in the car using the street lights to see Pokemon.
Yes.
Like you had,
Yep.
and you had to buy that little portable light you had to plug into the side of the Game
Yeah,
Boy.
I remember you had to kind of attach it. It was like a book light or some
Yeah.
shit. That was fun.
And then the Game Boy SP came out, like the little flip one.
Yes, I had that one
and
too.
it
Yep.
had a backlight, and it blew my mind. The things we take for
Yes.
granted today, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that, I was like, oh my god, we finally have a Game Boy that has a backlight. That was insane. Yeah, so good times. That was like my favorite handheld. I just love the simplicity of like a little flip
The
handheld.
last handheld one I had was the DS, not the 3DS, the regular original DS. I think mid 2000s I started dropping off of the handheld stuff. Never got into the PSP or the Vita. But yeah, I have great memories with the DS and SP Game Boy. I did have a Game Gear. I did have a Game Gear for a little bit, but very quickly switched back to Nintendo.
Right. All right. So let's move on now. To the state of play.
Yeah.
Which happened on Wednesday of this week. So we're gonna go in order of what happened, and so we're gonna start with Stellar Blade, which I'm pretty excited about. My eye's been on this game for a while now since they first showed it. Dory, what did you think of Stellar Blade?
We have Near at home. No, I'm kidding. But I did see that comment that we have Near Automata at home. Yeah, and I kind of made similar comments. Me, Chris, and Preston on the Draft Punk server were all watching it together. I like it. I will share some initial skepticism about the way that they're portraying the main protagonist. Seems a little I don't know, mid 2000s ish. Like I feel like I hear Linkin Park like about to blast through some car speakers while her ass is hanging out. But like other than that, and the kind of regrettable art direction we're going with,
it's very barren. It's very Bayonetta.
It's very Bayonetta. Which I mean, look, if they're like leaning into it like Bayonetta does, I don't have as much of a problem. If they're like, hey, this is the kind of game we are, then whatever. I'm less about it. I played Nier Automata. I don't have a problem with, certain developers doing that and owning it and being like, yeah, this game is for the freaks. Like, whatever. But like, I don't get those vibes. I just get the kind of subtle mid 2000s female protagonist vibes. But that being said, the combat does look really good. The graphics look gorgeous. This looks like Seb and I were talking about earlier. You can tell the difference when a game is built natively on Sony, and this game definitely, or on next gen platforms, this is definitely one of them. The combat looked great. The narration of the story seemed kind of whatever. Like, it just seemed like every video game plot I've ever heard. Aliens came. It's a post-apocalypse. It's a wasteland. Blah blah blah. It's a teenage wasteland, etc. But yeah, so I don't know. I wasn't blown away by any of the plot or any of the characters, who I think are all, it seems like a lot of UK talent, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know. It looked cool. I'm waiting to hear more. This is definitely a wait and see for me. If the combat's really good and the story's just fine, I'll still probably buy it. But if the combat's just okay and the story's just okay, I'll probably just whatever about it. But the graphics look, like I said, incredible. So I hope it lives up to the hype. I'm not blown away by it, but I'm interested to see what happens. What do you think, Seb?
I thought it looked very good. Like I said, I've had my eye on this game for a while because I love that style of gameplay. I'm a huge fan of Nier Automata and Bayonetta, and it gives me those vibes. It feels like this game was made by one of those developers, like Platinum Games. As Dory mentioned, it does have like a very mid 2000s vibe in terms of like the design of the protagonist. It definitely looks like, you can definitely tell it was made by an Asian studio, it was made in South Korea, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if Sony purchases them, shipped up, because this game is published by Sony, so it is a second party game. It is the exclusive game to PlayStation, and they've been marketing the heck out of this game. So it would not surprise me if they purchase this developer when if this game is successful. I believe that I think it's going to be one of the marquee games of the year. I think a lot of people are really going to dig this. I could see this game selling well. I feel like this is a big game for them in the spring. It comes out on April 26th, and I think the PlayStation audience loves these kind of games. So just the graphics and the gameplay alone is going to sell this game, I think, and I think people really going to like the character. So even the story is not amazing. We'll see. I think people are gonna just love the gameplay. So I think this game is gonna be successful. I mean, we'll talk about it, but I think people. I know people were criticizing Sony for the state of play for not having first party support as much, but I think they're very happy with their second party support right now and their third party support. As we'll talk about, because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out this month, so it's like there's plenty of games to play on PlayStation. All right.
Yeah, plenty for sure.
Yeah. So let's move on to, well, I don't have a lot to say, but Shadow the Hedgehog is in Sonic Generations, which is an old game.
Shadow God.
I mean, not for me. I'm not really a Sonic fan.
Yeah.
But it's cool seeing Shadow. So
it is cool seeing Shadow. I thought the one thing that really stood out to me was the art design and art direction. Very cool with Shadow going all over the place and all these kind of special effects and various colors. And yeah, I really like that. But yeah, I have to just admit at this point, Sonic has, ironically, Sonic has passed me by as an interest at this point. It's just not coming back for me. I don't care if they try to bring back the old games. I don't care if we get Sonic Origins or Sonic Collections or whatever. I just don't care about Sonic anymore. I like the first movie, okay, and I'm okay with I'm just kind of indifferent to the franchise. It's sad because Sonic was one of the first games I ever played ever when I was a kid. So I just feel like this franchise at this point has just kind of moved past me, and I just don't really care one way or the other about it. I root for it. I always want it to be successful. God knows the Sonic fans need it and deserve it at this point for all they've been through. But yeah, I'm with you on this one, Seb. It didn't wow me one way or the other. All I thought was, ooh, pretty colors. Shadows in it? Does he have a gun? No? Don't care. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I've played plenty of newer Sonic games, but I always get them on sale when they're like $10 or something. I've never gone out
Right.
and just like go buy a Sonic game day one. I think Sonic is one of the Sonic is weird because it's like Sonic is so iconic and popular, but like at the same time, I feel like there's barely been any great games like for Sonic. Like I feel like Mario is consistently breaking new grounds and changing it up and always being phenomenal in new ways. And Sonic games always feel like like 7 out of 10 at best.
Yeah. Yeah, even the new like huge Sonic game Frontiers.
Was
Lots of sevens.
was solid, but it was
Yeah.
I have the platinum in it. It was solid, but it wasn't like it didn't blow my mind or anything. But it was unique for
Yeah.
Sonic. So anyway, let's move on to Zenless Zone Zero, which was
Yes.
cool anime game.
Zzz.
I mean, I don't. They didn't really show any gameplay, so I don't get excited when I don't see gameplay because I don't know what this is. But the animation was crisp, and I liked the whole like had the hi-fi rush kind of animation, that style.
Yes.
Which was cool. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I mean it looks cool. I like the art style. I believe it's from the same people who make Genshin Impact, or at least similar company. I could be wrong. But I love the name.
Yeah, you're
Zenless
right.
Zone.
Same people.
What was it?
Same people.
Yeah, same people. Zenless Zone what?
Oh, Zenless Zone Zero.
Yeah, Zenless Zone Zero. I
Some
love that shit.
Some alliteration for people. There you go.
Hell yeah. Love me some alliteration. Me and Seb both fans of English. Gotta love that. I thought it looked pretty, but I didn't care for it much one way or the other. If it's anything like Genshin, I won't touch it. Not my kind of game. But yeah, I hope it's cool.
Yeah, I'm just not getting anything. I mean, everything about it looks great, but I need some gameplay. I can't get excited about a game until I see some gameplay, bro. Because if this is just like a mobile kind of styled game, where it's like microtransactions everywhere and things like that, or I don't.
Right, exactly.
Just lose me.
I don't need that in my life. No, thank you.
All right, so the next two games are Silent Hill, and it was not a great showing for Silent Hill for me personally.
No, unfortunately.
Now, first they showed Silent Hill: The Short Message, which was a free game that came.
Which, by the way, everybody is rated lower currently, I believe, on Fantasy Critic than Suicide Squad. Just FYI.
Do you know what it got? I don't even know.
I think it got like 57, 55. It was something like that. I remember seeing it on the DraftBunk server earlier today.
Yeah, like Silent Hill, like we're rooting for Silent Hill to come back so much, and Silent Hill has been a disaster since they rebooted it, basically, because like in that In Session game, whatever it's called,
50. I was wrong. 52.8.
Oh my god!
Yikes!
So you know that thing that they did that CGI show / game In Session thing that people hated, and it was terrible, and you had to pay money, all that stuff. That's been a disaster. This game seems like a disaster. And then Silent Hill 2.
Although I will say it's free. At least it's free, I guess.
Yeah.
And short. So even if it's like not good, at least it's free and short.
Yeah. I mean, that's a shame too, because a Silent Hill game in first person is a cool idea. Like a Resident Evil 7 kind of, or Outlast kind of vibe. That would have been cool. But
yeah.
And then Silent Hill 2, which it's my top 6 game of all time. Like I have a PhD in Silent Hill 2. And for what they showed, I thought it looked clunky. I thought the gameplay just looked off. And I know Silent Hill 2 doesn't have the best gameplay in the original, and people say, well, that was the charm. That was like it made it scarier because it was harder or clunkier. I think it's just a cop out. I feel like this game should have looked a way better. I mean, I'm sorry. I know Silent Hill is not Resident Evil, and I love both of them. And I know I love Resident Evil more, but You can see the difference in quality between Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 4 remake in this game. Like
Yeah,
it just frustrates me. Konami, it just frustrates me. It's like of all the people to pick to make one of your marquee beloved games, you pick Bloober Team, which I am not the biggest fan of. I think their games have been pretty mid. I don't think they make
yeah,
horrendous games. I think they just make very average, mediocre games. The medium, was, the medium was like very much a Silent Hill game, but the storyline was first of all problematic. To a lot of people, I felt like it's the way it handled like abuse and things like that, and then also the mechanics were just kind of bland.
yeah.
So I liked the visual. The visuals were really great in that game. But other than that, the game was pretty forgettable. And so I was, and I know Layers of Fear are okay games, but I'm just like, why pick them to do this? I've always been kind of like worried for this game. Like I know. I was hoping. I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic, but at this point, I'm like, now I'm starting to think this game's going to be disappointing from what I'm
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah, I mean, and going into more into what Seb was saying about the trailer itself, like, yeah, graphically it looked good, but the actions and the animations and the combat just looked very stilted and very dodgy. I don't know exactly what was wrong. It's
It looked
hard to
cheap.
place exactly what
It
was.
looks cheap.
It
It
looked
looks
cheap.
like
It
lower
looked cheap.
budget compared to like
Yes.
a AAA
And
horror
that's
game.
not good. That's one of Konami's premier things that they have to market. So many people are excited about it. Hell, I wanted to play it, but I don't know what Bloober Team's doing here. It just doesn't seem like the combat looks particularly good. I was looking at some reactions online too, a lot more negative than positive. Some positive, but a lot more people being like, I don't know about this anymore.
Next game we're gonna talk about is Judas, which I think might be the best thing they showed at the state to play because I am so
It
excited for
was
this
definitely
game.
the most interesting.
Because Ken Levine's new game. It's basically BioShock 4. I am a huge BioShock fan, and this game looks incredible. Like I've been so hyped for this game. And have you ever played the BioShock games before?
Yes, I played 1, 2, and Infinite. Infinite's not as bad as people think. Although I will say the political analysis of the game is very bad. But um, but I love one's one of my favorite games of all time with one of the best twists of all time. Final boss kind of sucks though. And 2 is also underrated. Solid game in its own right. Although obviously diminishing returns does a lot of stuff the first one did. Never played the DLC for number 2. That's the only thing from BioShock I've never touched. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I like Ken Levine. I like his games. I guess he like a lot of the original developers behind it in a different studio. I forget what the original studio that made BioShock was called, but I think some people there got laid off, and Ken Levine moved on. He's doing his own thing. I don't really know the whole story, but I mean, it looks very interesting. Like you said, it looks very BioShock, and I'm interested to see more. I like the combat. It looks cool. Looks very BioShock inspired. But what are they going to do? They're going to sue Ken Levine? Like, no. It's not like you have a trademark on shock, sending out lightning bolts from your hand. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree. This was one of the best things that they showed that involved electricity hurting other people. There's unfortunately another contender towards the end of the show we'll talk about.
Yeah. This I've been hyped for this game. Like I said, I feels like it's in the same world as BioShock. Like if you told me this is a new BioShock, I would have totally believed
Yeah,
you.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I don't think we didn't get a release date, right? This was just confirmation that it's still going on or it's still being worked on.
Yeah, there was no release window either. It was just
Window, right? I not even date, but window.
all it said is wish list now, and that was it.
Wish list now. Okay, well, they're at least confident enough about it for us to wish list it, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about. There's like 2 VR games, so we'll fly through this. First, they're making a Metro VR game, which is pretty cool because Metro's like has to do with like Chernobyl kind of stuff, like Russia
Right. Yeah,
and nuclear.
I think I played one of the Metro games. I didn't care for it, but I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Last Light or something.
The graphics in this VR showcase were really impressive. I thought Like VR, like this is like the power of PSVR 2. I think PSVR 2 have had more. I wish there was more games like this that were more cinematic and like really get the power of the tech. This game looked really cool. Now, like I said, my only concern with my problem with VR always is the fact that like it's too expensive of an experience. Like all these games coming out, and I don't want to spend $40-$50 on a VR game. But I know that, but it's also a AAA VR game, so it's like it is what it is. But I wait for sales, basically.
Yeah. I see disembodied hands. I know it's VR. I have no interest. Sadly.
Yeah. And so the other one was Legendary Tales. I thought Legendary Tales looked kind of fun, like fighting skeletons and like blocking and swinging swords at the skeletons and things like that. Like that was
you're cool. Kind of like an outside observer helping the hero or something like that. It was a cool premise.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering the game correctly.
You were like doing magic and stuff. Like it was actually parrying like the axe with the daggers and the wands and stuff. Like I was like, wow, I'm into this. Like this is where VR is all about. VR is like fun. Have just a blast experience. I wish there was more games where you can actually swing something. Like I feel like a lot of games are always like puzzle heavy or you're doing activities, but you're never doing just like straight up like fighting something. Like you would think like there'd be plenty of Star Wars games where you have a lightsaber and just swing.
Right? Around. Yeah, I know there are some, but they didn't make any others to refine it.
Yeah, so let's move on to Dragon's Dogma 2. Obviously I've talked about how excited I am for this game, but like I am concerned now for the console version because the console version is only 30 frames per second. That's the rumor.
Oh, okay.
People are like pissed about that, and it showed in this gameplay showcase that you could a little choppy, the frame rate and stuff. Like it looked like a game you should play on PC. Unless Capcom confirms that it's going to be 60. But in terms of just the gameplay though, it looks like a blast. It looks really, really fun. I'm still hyped for this game. I mean, I think I don't need to see any more of this game. I feel like I've seen this game a lot at this point. So yeah, I didn't even need to see this in this showcase. I think I'm pretty sold. It comes out next month, so it's not like it's far away. So I think it's just a reminder. Oh, this is coming out. But it's up. But the thing is about this game is that it's coming out the same day as Rise of the Ronin, which was also on the showcase right after.
Nice.
And this is the game I can't figure out in terms of how excited I am or not, because like if this game is in the style of a Souls game like Neo or something, my hype for this game just massively declines because I just don't care for the Neo games. I like Souls. I like Souls games, but I don't like the constant. I don't like the Sekiro Neo games where it's like constant attacking you and you have to parry. It's like overwhelming for me. I think Bloodborne just had enough of that for me where I can dodge and I feel like I was comfortable with it. I prefer like the Elden Ring Dark Souls kind of where it's like you can play defense if you want to, different play styles. You're not forced to always play the same, play a parry samurai style character. But this game, I'm getting Ghost of Tsushima vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
The gameplay looks like a mix between Ghost of Tsushima and a Souls game. I'm just confused by it.
There's got to be some Ninja Gaiden DNA in there too.
I'm seeing a lot of Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Ninja Gaiden, and it has an open world section, like open area sections. Like you can like grapple onto rooftops and stuff.
The changing between the grappling and the parasailing looked a little jittery, but it could just be not a final build.
Yeah,
I don't know if you noticed that. It looked a little. The animations, it's a nitpick, but the animations look a little off when they switch from the grappling hook to the parasol. It like hits for a second or whatever. Yeah,
it's not the prettiest game for sure.
Yeah, it looks nice, but these are I will say, by the way, about Dragon's Dogma. I mean, just real quick.
Yeah,
this was kind of the slump of the showcase for me. It was 2 VR games which I don't care about, and then 2 games that I also don't really care about. I mean, I'm not into Souls games at all. And I had never played Dragon's Dogma 1. If it gets really good reviews, I might check it out on PC. And I am a big fan of RPGs. So, like, I'm not adverse to giving this a shot. but nothing I've seen that's like blown me away. And I also have no nostalgia for Dragon's Dogma 1. I think that came out around the time I stopped playing games, so I just never
2012.
I never played it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but so this was kind of where the showcase hit a bit of a slump for me.
Now, would you be interested in Rise of the Ronin if it was like Ghost of Tsushima styled? Like
It was more like Ghost of Tsushima, I think I would. I mean, I was even tepid about Ghost of Tsushima at first because I was like, oh, it's based a lot on Souls games. Like, I don't know. But then I heard a lot of people saying, oh, it's very accessible. Yes, there are some elements that it shares with Souls games, but it's still very user friendly and there's different difficulty modes. So it's like, okay, I'm sold. And I just played it on the normal difficulty. I had a blast. I loved that game. I don't remember where it was on my top 10 list, but it was somewhere in there, probably my top 5 or something. It was an excellent game.
If this game is like Ghost of Tsushima, I'm all in. But I'm very confused about this game. Like I want to be excited, but yeah, and then having both these games the same day, it's like, oof, that's just weird. I wonder if one of those games are gonna move. I just don't see the point. I guess like why just not move the games off for a week or two? Like why even risk the chance of like your game getting cannibalized by one?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah. So anyway, next thing we got was the Until Dawn remastered, which I'm all on board for because they actually, it looks like a full on remake because the animation what I'm seeing on Twitter and stuff looks way better than the original.
And Hayden Panettiere did not look like Hayden Panettiere. Like it looked like they did an updated face model or something. You know what I mean? Like it looked. It didn't look like her when she was younger. What Until Dawn was 10 years ago?
Yeah, 2015, I think it was.
2015, so almost 10 years ago now. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad time for them to do it. I don't feel like this is necessary, but I almost always feel that way about remasters and whatnot. But I mean, on the other hand, games preservation is important. So I'm not like against it, and I love Until Dawn. I'm not like mad about this. Yeah, I'm not mad about this. It's cool. I'm glad more people are gonna be able to play it.
For sure. Like I said, it's the best one of these games. We had the whole like Dark Pictures anthology games and stuff like that.
Right.
And this is still
which are all like 6s and 7s mostly.
Yes. And
except for maybe the one at the camp, the newest one. I forget what that one was called. The Quarry.
Yes, the Quarry.
I think that one got some 8s.
Yeah, that one was okay too. That was a 7 out of 10 for me personally. Maybe maybe 7.5. But I am excited. I am going to play. I hope. I don't think it gave us a release date for it. I feel like it'd be a perfect Halloween game, of course. It just says 2024, so I'm hoping October. That'd be perfect, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
It drives me crazy sometimes when the horror games come out and like they'll release it like in July. It's like,
yes, I know, right? That always bothers the hell out of me. It's like, why not delay it more, refine it more, add more features or whatever you can do in the amount of time, and then release it in Spooky month. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
I guess it's because October tends to be a very strong, busy month of gaming. Like for some reason,
it is though. Yeah, October's historically been very strong. So I don't. But I mean, then again, are you really selling Until Dawn to make blockbuster bucks? I mean, I don't know.
No.
I don't think it really matters in this case.
You're right.
But yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
You're definitely right. Yeah, because like October we had Spider-Man 2 and Mario Wonder, like, and Assassin's Creed, and there was something else I'm forgetting, like all next to each other. It was insane. With the way this year is going, it's probably gonna be. It feels like it's gonna be just as stacked as last year, which is now good for my wallet. All right.
Nope.
Also, Until Dawn is coming to PC too, so that's big news because Until Dawn was a PlayStation exclusive.
Yes, so that's nice. I forgot about that.
So that game's gonna look credible on a nice PC. If you have a nice PC, I'd play it there. All right. And the last game they showed was Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which is first of all a very Kojima title, and this whole thing was a very Kojima title.
This was one of the best, worst trailers I've ever seen in my fucking life. Me, Preston, and Chris were having a good time watching this. This is everything I want from a Kojima game.
It was like AAA schlock, basically. I mean,
Yeah, it felt like one of those like Sharknado movies, but for video games. Like, and I love Kojima. Like, to be clear, I love Metal Gear Solid. I love Kojima. I do think he has a little bit too much power in the video game industry and maybe a little bit too unchecked. But the myth of the auteur is devastating for the industry. But yeah, I mean, come on. I didn't like this. Like, I'm not gonna play it for starters. I don't like Death Stranding, UPS, the game. I don't like this shit. I don't want to play it. I don't want to be anywhere near it. But I'm not gonna pretend like these trailers aren't fucking cinema. I love these trailers. These trailers are fucking stupid, and I love it. I'm the kind of person who would never play or touch Death Stranding. But I would absolutely watch like a 5-hour analysis video or lore video explaining everything that happened and why at the end he said, "You're my Princess Beach." I mean, that needs to be studied. I mean, that's just cinema right there. In all seriousness, I mean, that fucking electric guitar gun was the coolest fucking thing I saw all showcase, and I will always talk about it. That will always be famous to me because that was incredible. I love that. I need more of it in my life. Didn't know I needed more of it, but that was great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't actually have a lot to say about this trailer, even though it went for almost 10 minutes. I guess it's more Death Stranding. I guess they're doing a magic school bus inside a baby. I don't fucking know what's happening.
Do you even know the story?
The baby's a little older. I don't fucking know anything about Death Stranding, and like I want to, but I also don't want to.
The irony of that game is the fact that people say, "Wow," people like when it got revealed for like all the trailers and stuff, it was like this game's gonna be super confusing, and then the game itself was actually very straightforward. Like everything was
really
very explained well to you. It was very easy to follow. I thought I was never confused. It was very easy to follow. Basically, it's an afterlife, and they it got released, and it killed everybody. And like when people die, if you don't burn the bodies, the bodies explode. So like, yeah.
I thought those androids that were in the trailer were really fucking cool looking. I mean, I'm all about art design stuff. Just give me stupid names, really cool art design, and some pointless celebrity cameos, and I'm like, I'm good. Just give me a good trailer. Like, remember when the first Death Stranding trailer came out, and we were like, "What the fuck is Kojima?"
But the whale.
We should also say, by the way, Kojima has announced that he's going to make a new espionage game. That's not Metal Gear Solid. It's a new IP. So I am interested in that. But I have no interest in Death Stranding 2 on the beach. You fucking kidding me? On the beach.
It's so Kojima.
And by the way, I know someone. No, probably not. But someone in the comments is going to be like, "But Dory, you love Kingdom Hearts, and there's 358/2." Look, I didn't say that the title isn't amazing. I just said it's funny. Okay. Anyway, I own that. Some video games have really stupid titles.
I love the campiness of it. I love like the glove.
Yes.
Block, like the glove mask, like why?
Oh, that was so cool. The fucking glove that snaps and then like turns your I don't know what is it with Kojima. He loves making smoking seem as cool as possible. I swear to God, like someone else noticed this on Twitter that like he has had this in constant video games where people will make smoking look like the coolest fucking shit you could ever do in your life. Now, the only thing that I thought was weird about one of the weirdest things about this trailer that I'm not even sure about is the puppet. I don't know what's going on there. That's some Jiminy Cricket type energy right there. I don't know what we're doing.
He was like a stop motion puppet. He's in a different frame rate than everybody else.
Bullshit. Yeah. He was doing inside the Spider, like he was at like a different frame rate. I'm like, you're not Miles Morales, bro. Like this isn't gonna work.
I'm so into this. He's like your Mimir basically. I feel like it was a God of War reference, or like it was like a nod to it. It was like, don't put me in the back, put me in the front.
He actually says that. Yes.
I don't know if that was meant to be a God of War reference.
I missed that because I was so fucking shocked that I was looking at a 30 FPS marionette in a 60 FPS game.
That was so good. But one thing that really stood out to me though was the visuals. Like, it was jaw-dropping.
It does look incredible. Yeah,
absolutely looks incredible. Like it's so cinematic.
I wonder if they're bringing back the same. I think somebody from the band died, but I wonder if they're bringing back the same band that did it the first time. Was it Low Roar or something like that? I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Okay, but anyway, I mean it. The
Yeah.
best thing I can say about Death Stranding 1 and those kinds of games is that they're excellent podcast games and games to just chill out and play and not worry too much. But I mean,
That's what
I'm
I
not
did.
usually into podcast games. And also, even when I am, that's not my idea of a good time. All the inventory management and weight stuff and all that jazz, I'm just not really into it. But yeah, Seb, what did you? I mean, was there any game? I forget if there was any gameplay. I think it showed a little bit of gameplay. Yeah,
Yeah, it showed gameplay. It showed a couple boss fights. I guess a giant hand.
right,
It showed like him
right, right,
him him walking and sneaking around. I the it has him running and then like the bridge collapses. It has him walking in like different landscapes. Like the avalanche that happens on the mountain was like in real time. It seems like,
right.
and it has him sneaking in like this red area. I guess he's like in the spirit realm, or someone's I forget what they're called. Their beach. Like
Now here's the real question, Seb. If they're in the spirit world, why is no one calling Yusuke? I don't understand. Why are we not calling Yusuke Urameshi?
we definitely should have Norman Reedus do a spirit gun. That'd be pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
No, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while, the beach is like everybody's version of the afterlife. Like everybody has their own beach, their own like afterlife. So it's like see the people you love and or something like that.
Mm.
So that's what it means. So I think and Norman Reedus he has like special powers or something like that. Like when he dies, he can come back. Like he can go to the afterlife and come back. So that's his special ability. Because when you die, he explodes in the first game, and he always comes.
Nice.
He always comes back though. So, and and there's a lot of time travel, like in terms of like you go on someone's beach and it's like this. It was like one of them was like very World War II heavy, and I feel like this is something similar to this one where it's like he's in space. So it's someone's beach that
Fucking awesome.
yeah. There's a lot of like awesome like space visuals in this game, and it feels like what Starfield should have been with the vehicles and,
I can't wait for that tagline: Dead Space 2 on the beach. Everything Starfield should have been. Sebastian Cardoni.
Anyway,
That would be incredible.
Death Stranding 2. It's what Starfield should have been.
Starfield.
All right. And then you had Troy Baker as the Joker.
Of course,
with the guitar.
I love that. He did the Sting meme. Do you know where Sting takes off the Sting mask, and he's got the Sting paint underneath?
Yeah, he's not even the Joker. He's basically WCW Sting.
Yes, absolutely.
I think he had no. What was the one he did the It was a TNA when he did the Joker.
Yeah, gimmick? It was TNA.
Yeah.
He did the Joker gimmick. Yes, Joker Sting.
That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Joker Sting.
Yep. Yeah, Joker Sting was so good. He even did that like a tiny bit in AEW recently, and it was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah. And I mean, who does not love like fighting with a guitar that shoots electricity? Like that's amazing.
Fucking awesome. Absolutely. I pop big for that moment.
This is cinema.
Cinema. Absolutely. You got to throw your hands up.
Martin Scorsese is like crying in the theater.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, in all seriousness, that was such a fucking cool moment where he like strummed the guitar and these energy blasts came out and fucking wrecked these fools. I was like, okay, that's sick. Like, that's just awesome. Yeah. That's what video games are for.
And then he said Lou the baby died, but then they show Lou at the end of the trailer, and I was like, so something's up.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah, because that's the baby he carries in the first game, and now the end she comes out and he raises her. So I'm curious,
right.
How they're gonna do that with that story. There's a lot of crazy. I mean, the first game had a lot of wonkiness too, but like this is like they went full on craziness in this one. So that must mean the supernatural stuff is getting really carried away. Like something's going on. It's like it's invading the real world even more. So
yeah.
Anyway, as you mentioned too, we're getting that spy. It was he said it was like a spy espionage kind of thing, right?
Right. Yeah, I forget. He even gave it a title or a working title, but I forget what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically Metal Gear, right? Like does he miss like doing another Metal Gear thing?
Yeah, it's something like Metal Gear. I know he said that there's been a lot of fan support, a lot of interest in him doing another espionage game with modern tech and modern sensibilities and totally new IP.
It's called
So I'm
Fizzant.
very interested in that. What was it called?
Fizzant. I think it's Fizzant.
Fizzant, right?
Yeah.
Fizzant.
Fizzant. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, and I said Kojima makes a normal ass game title, challenge level, difficulty level impossible. So yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So overall, I wasn't like blown away by the state of play, but I do think it's the best state of play we've had in a long time. I feel like lost state of plays used tend to be bad. I still think it's like a 6.5 out of 10 or something like that.
yeah.
I don't think
I
it's
would agree. I think six to a
yeah
7.
yeah. That's a good score for me. Most showcases suck, so
Yeah,
almost every game I have genuine like I really want to play, or I have
yeah,
somewhat interest, and I'll keep an eye on it if it gets better, gets good reviews or gets better trailers or something. So like, that's one thing about these shows is like I always feel like even the last state of play, which was like everybody hated, I feel like there was a lot of games I wanted to play, so it accomplished its job. I understand that like there's a big lack of support for first party again in this
yes,
state of
for sure.
play, but the thing is, if you ask the average person, like the average game, like I'm talking about the hardcore gamers like us that follow every news and everything. I mean, like people like just a random person and be like, would they know that Rise of the Ronin or Stellar Blade is not first party? Like if they saw exclusive to PlayStation, wouldn't they just assume it's first party?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who has time to sort out all these studios and who owns what and
Yeah,
what's been bought by Tencent and what
us
hasn't, who's
nerds,
been laid off,
us
and
nerds.
you know,
That's what we
us
do.
us nerds. Yeah, that's what we're here to be, the fucking nerds, so you guys don't have to. We get shoved into lockers so y'all don't have to.
Get the
Somebody fucking print
get
that.
swirlies so you don't have to.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're no, you know what? I'm not continuing this metaphor. It's just gonna get grosser. But no, I mean you're absolutely right. It's something that I think we pay attention to, but a lot of people aren't going to notice. People are going to see Rise of the Ronin, they're going to see Stellar Blade, they're going to be like, "Oh, these are first party games. These are huge, big games," and it's like they look like it and they're talking like it. I don't know that they actually. I don't think that they actually are, but they could be in the future. And I mean, there's plenty of second, third party games that are amazing experiences in their own right. I wasn't blown away by this showcase, but I also had my expectations in check. I didn't think the two games that they said that they were going to highlight, I was like, about. Like, I'm interested, but I'm not blown away, especially with Rise of the Ronin. Not really my thing from what I've seen. Team Ninja is infamous for their very difficult games, and I don't feel like yelling at my screen until Kingdom Hearts 4 Critical Mode comes out. Thank you. This is my burden and my curse to bear, and I will bear it proudly. But anyway, and then Stellar Blade, and I'm like, looks cool. Some problematic elements, but looks cool overall. I'm interested to see what'll happen, but I'm not. That doesn't really track me. And then it's like from creators all around the world. That was what Sony said, from like game developers all around the world.
Yeah.
So I kept my expectations in check, and I wasn't let down. It pretty much met my expectations, which were like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah,
So.
the showcase was definitely more for me and my taste because I love Japanese games. I love those near Automata. I love Souls games, and I really like Death Stranding and things like that. So I can understand why this show wouldn't appeal to you as much at all. But we are getting another state of play next week. Are you gonna watch the Final Fantasy 7 one, or you feel like you want to go into that
Yes,
game more?
I will.
Okay.
I feel like I've seen enough of it, but I'm not going to complain. Also, there's been some speculation that a demo is going to come out for the new Final Fantasy game. I would love that. Oh my god, I would love that. And then we would obviously have a big topic to talk about on the podcast. So great on both ends. But yeah, I'll definitely be there. I'll definitely watch it. I feel like I've seen enough. But I mean, like, how many times do I need to see Aerith get implicitly stabbed through her stomach? I don't know. The count could be infinite. But yeah, seriously, I'm fucking stoked. And I'm very picky about my open world games, but I have a good feeling about this. The movement looks terrific. The animation and characters, and I'm so excited. It's one of my most hyped games of the year, besides maybe Hades 2, and that's an early access. So if you don't count non-early access games, which maybe you shouldn't or should. Yeah, Final Fantasy is probably my most hyped game of the year. And I've been loving Yakuza, so yeah, it's going to be another great year for me personally. Probably going to be more of a backlog year than last year was, because a lot of the games I know you're hyped about, I'm not personally hyped about. But that's still awesome. And I still have plenty of stuff on my backlog on Steam and Game Pass and PlayStation. I bought a couple games over the winter break. So yeah, lots to look forward to.
It feels like because last year was so stacked, a lot of people put their games in the beginning of this year. So like February and January feel like so stacked, and then after like March, there's like nothing in the summer. Like there's really very limited. We don't know really anything.
I have a feeling
up.
some Nintendo Directs and PlayStation showcases are going to change that, but we'll see.
Yeah,
that's pure speculation, by the way, pure speculation.
Yeah. All right, that's our show. That's our very first episode of our podcast. I guess I think this is about the time we're gonna aim for. Very nice, like hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half kind of show.
Yep. Nice, short and sweet.
We're gonna do it weekly. I said I'm gonna post it every Saturday night on Spotify and YouTube. Yeah.
Pat myself on the back. Good job, everybody.
Good job.
Pat on the back. It's important.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.